Coming at you on YouTube's, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Man, Twitter. I wonder if that's I wonder if there's anybody there yet. I know
No.
the whole thing with Elon might be falling through.
Yeah, he pulled the plug, right? Because of fake accounts or something.
Yeah, a lot of what they're saying, like something where bot accounts, they don't check them, and
Dude, it's shocking to me how much of the internet is bought. Or seeing with Performance Max, especially, like how many of these freaking click farms there are.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
Well, I think Clixy says 1 out of every 4 clicks are bots, which I was
the problem is I don't trust anything Clixy says. You remember when they tried to fix our accounts?
I know. It was funny because it's like, here's what's great is, yes, they may be true. You still can't help, but yes, they may be true.
Yeah, no joke. I'm going to shout out our new members real quick. We got Peter Sonoros Sabo, Shong, Lycosis, Panos Contaxis, Sean Go, Brett Nelson, Ryan Huron, Tommy Dukas now, Not a Guru. I love that. Not a Guru. Casey Snow, Justin Lopatrio, and that's it. Appreciate y'all joining.
Did you say Contaxis? Like kind of like Clixies?
Yeah,
exactly. So that'd be a really cool name.
We're being spied on. Theodore Malcevic, what up, buddy? Dave Fogel, hola amigos. Joseph, thanks for being here.
Hello.
Joseph asking, does it still take 45 days to start seeing results of Performance Max campaigns?
Well, you should still start seeing results fairly quickly. Now, are you achieving your goals is going to be a whole different scenario. And I know that sounds vague, but there's going to be a lot of things that depend. So daily ad spend, the amount of SKUs, how popular the product is, how long your sales cycle is, how long it takes for a person to make a purchase decision, your price as competitive to the market. Are you also running on Amazon? A lot of things there. In a nutshell, no, you will start to see results the first 1 to 2 weeks. Are they good results? No, probably not. Are they going to get better? Hopefully. Will they get better? It all depends on those variables that I just discussed. So I think that, PMax is a big, slow moving beast. It does get better and better and better over time. Think months though. And it's not something that you'd want to put essentially a time limit on, which is different because you think about like inbound search. Cool. I have one person Googling a keyword and it did or did not work. PMax is like I'm going after an audience or lookalike audiences on all 6 channels plus remarketing. It's literally 7 times larger, plus 7 times larger ecosystem plus 8 times larger audiences on average. So just know that it is going to take a lot longer than what you normally use to measure Google, but what you normally use to measure Google no longer exists. So that's where it gets a little bit kind of vague, as in like how long does it take? Like our standard operating procedure for like how long is this going to take is we have no idea, honestly. You should see trends and you should see movement in the right direction, but there's too many variables for that question to be answered on like a live video here, just because I would have to ask, how are you priced to competitors? Are you running on Amazon? What's your sales cycle timeline, and how in demand is your product? And then the answer after all those questions is, okay, now let's see how many people we could find that are interested in the product. And that's the part where we all kind of jump right to the end, is like how long is it going to take? The question really is are there people that are ready to purchase? If yes, very short. If no, we got to find those people. How long does it take a person to convince them on the product that they don't know that they want? Everyone has struggled for 6 months to a year to make their Facebook campaigns work. Could be about the same time period, honestly.
If you're joining us live on a channel other than YouTube and you want to join the live chat, it's reserved for our YouTube members. So I just dropped a link to our YouTube channel in chat. Feel free to head over to YouTube and start asking questions. John, I'm going to start firing them at you. Theodore asks, how are y'all doing? We're good.
Good.
In search campaigns, do you use different keyword match types together in the same ad group sometimes, and when?
So we've been running more and more broad, long tail broad, and using harder to complete forms in order to make sure that we have high quality traffic. If I run a broad, I will not run any other campaign or match type. It won't work. It will work, but you're also going to start fighting with each other. It's just not an optimal setup because your broad campaign, or your broad keywords and your exact keywords, or your broad keywords and your phrase keywords are going to go after the same person. So you have to kind of pick and choose. If I don't run broad, yeah, I'll run phrase and exact at the same time, sometimes in the same ad group, sometimes in different campaigns. But if I'm running a broad campaign ever, or a broad keyword, nothing else gets ran because they'll just start to fight. I recently took on a consulting client that within the first 1 day of changes, by switching from phrase and exact to broad, we lowered our cost per conversion by 40%, and had really good results. So much so that the day afterwards, the client emailed me and was like, "Yeah, me and my partner were high fiving." And like but he was running broad and phrase and exact all in the same period. I'm like, now the ads aren't running. Like attribution diagnosis shows that there's a better keyword for the search, but it wasn't showing because we don't know why. It just starts to fight. So either go phrase and exact, mix those up as much as you like, or go broad, but never those three at the same time.
Because Google mixes those up as much as they like.
Exactly.
For Google, they're polite suggestions that are impolitely ignored. Archie, how to run PMax in Google Shopping in multiple countries, all English, using Shopify. Should I use the Google Merchant Currency Conversion feature? How to match converted feed price to store price? Dude, that's a data feed issue there, right?
I'm going to read this one. How to run PMax / Google Shopping. Oh, in multiple countries using Shopify. Aha, yes. So here's what you got to do. If you use the Google Merchant Currency Conversion feature, it can work until the time when it doesn't. And when it doesn't, throws everything off. And here's what I mean. It's amazing, but 1 out of 100.
It's not.
Well, here's what we ran into this multiple times. So what happened is like, let's just use a round number. $49.95, a $50 sale. Okay, I got a $50 sale. I got a $50 sale. I got a $5,000 sale. I got a $50 sale. I got a $50 sale. We're like, what the hell happened here? What ended up happening was it changed the conversion to include a comma instead of a period because whatever currency in that country just showed as a comma. And what happened was all of a sudden our conversion value spiked, our ROAS spiked, automated bidding strategy said hit the gas, and then it went in the wrong direction. So if you're using automated bidding strategies, anytime that Google just thinks it hit like 1,000 ROAS, just be prepared for like, it's just gonna it's like a bottle rocket. It just spirals off in the wrong direction. So what we found works best is there's actually a tool. It's a plugin or an app, I guess, in Shopify that allows the website to identify the IP address of the person that is getting to the site and send them to the proper subdomain. The reason why this was important is the subdomain of like us.url.com. EU. What's nice, we actually use multiple tag managers in the same container. So multiple tag manager, one for different currencies, and then the data layer sent back the proper converted value that the account could use in USD. So it was like we had 7,000 euros. What's that USD? Send it back in through the data layer. So we actually use tag manager to convert the currency to send back to the conversion action in the one account that is measuring only in one currency, because only one currency can be had in Google Ads. You can't like dynamically roll different currencies. So we actually sent it back through the data layer converted with the app into the conversion action so that we saw the actual USD version and we didn't see odd spikes when it changed to comma to period to etc.
Dude, that was an international marketing masterclass, what you just did right there in about 90 seconds.
Yeah, so subdomain. That's the only way that I figure out how this works, like without fail, is subdomain, because then you have different conversion actions on different pages, all being funneled back, properly translated.
Michael Aririguzo. That's the baddest ass name I've ever heard.
It's amazing.
Michael says, is PMax recommended for catalog-based e-commerce brands whose most sales are derived for Google Shopping?
Well, I challenge that to say, is it derived from Google Shopping because that's the only area you've really tested and optimized, or you've tried DSA and search and broad for fail without 3 months of trying? So what's interesting, the reason why Performance Max collectively gets a good new customer acquisition rather than Smart Shopping or even Shopping, for example, is because it utilizes cold traffic keywords on the search network. Now, I would say don't run PMax if your customers cannot be, interested by YouTube, impressed by discover your display. Search, no one ever types in any keywords that are even broadly related to your product, and it's only successful on shopping. Then don't run PMax. I run standard shopping. Don't even run smart shopping because you're going to be heavily on display anyway. So if you're saying shopping is the only area that a customer is ever going to find us, I would disagree, only because people get to shopping because they found out about a product on Facebook, on YouTube, on word of mouth, whatever it may be. So the part that I would say is you'd have to draw the line in the sand and saying, no, people hate me on YouTube. They're disgusted by the picture of the product, all that stuff to say like, but then they really want it and then they Google it. Imagine
not a subtle point that John is making here.
Well, think about this. How do you get a shopping ad? How do you get a shopping ad to spawn?
Search for that product.
Bingo. So DSA, right alongside that, there's no reason why it'd be like, oh yeah, I'll click on the e-commerce ad, but no, sir. No.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
So that's
but absolutely not. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
So my dad owns a rug store. I know you know, like flooring rugs, and rugs come in traditional sizes: 2x3, 3x5, 4x6. And he was doing an analysis, and he goes, he was buying new rugs, and he's trying to figure out what to buy, and he goes, oh, we don't sell any 12x15s, barely at all. So don't buy any of them. And my little brother, who's brilliant, goes, well, how many 12x15s do we have in stock? And Dad says 4, like, as opposed to like thousands of the other ones. And so he was like, maybe if we bought more 12x15s, we could sell more 12x15s. But I know it's a silly story, dude. It's so interesting how much we like feed ourselves the wrong data, thinking, oh, this is the only thing that's going to sell, so this is the only thing, or this is the only channel that's going to work, so this is the channel that I'm working.
Right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think that's the part too, where that Google is that self-fulfilling prophecy. It's, if it's not going to, if we believe it's not going to work, I would have to be convinced. And I mean, like me, arrogant, like convinced John Moran. I'm not saying that. I'd have to be convinced.
That's a whole YouTube series right there. Convince John.
Well, I'd have to be convinced that we've tried everything and failed. And then be like, yeah, man, this just does not work on search. I don't know what we've tried yet, though.
Arms of Andes. Our Peruvian friends, is that right? Panamanian friends? I forget. Tell us where you are, Arms of Andes. For a fashion e-commerce brand in PMax, apart from our product category asset groups, is it necessary to have an asset group with all of the products, shirts, leggings, sweaters, etc.?
Apart from our product category asset groups.
So do you want to bring that back?
Well, no, I am seeing it here. So is it necessary to also have an asset group of all? So you're saying in addition to us having an asset group for leggings and an asset group for sweaters, is it good to have an asset group for all products? Depends on the listing group. Typically, my answer would be no, because what you're going to have to do is somehow combine imagery and videos and headlines and descriptions to show on search, as an example, the product that someone is searching for. So for example, Google is not yet completely smart enough to say, if I have an asset group with leggings in there and someone types in leggings and it's like, well, headline 1 is working well. What's headline 1? That's the best sweaters in the West. That's not going to work. So typically what I would say is if you're looking at what ad is going to show, we always think about what keyword is going to show what ad. Same with PMax. What target is going to show what ad? And if I have leggings in the listing groups and sweaters in the headlines, you're going to have a mismatch there. Knowing that also search also has the image extensions built in now, if it's going to show an image extension of leggings and people are Googling sweaters and says, we have the best sweaters and you have a picture of leggings, yeah, you're probably okay, but why try that way? Just do it the other way. It's much easier.
Dave Fogel says, I'm fitting to give up on PMax for lead gen.
Yeah, I would say that's okay.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, Dave. Did you put 15 fields on your form? How big? How robust? How hard is your form to fill out?
Yeah, and that's I've only had success that way, and not a lot of people are okay or even wanting to try that. So I've
people are like violently opposed to it. It's like, oh, hey, here's proof that this works definitively across multiple accounts. No, I refuse.
I can't share the email, but I have an email that says, you're right, John, it's getting spammed. and me saying, I told you, it says, I'm going to add one more field. And I said, no, stop. Like, just add all the fields. And I was like, well, I want to spend $500 a day. And I was like, I'm spending $100 because I know what's going to happen. I don't want to waste $400 additionally just to prove the point. But I'm here's the problem. I can only lead the horse to water. I can give you the way that I've seen it work time and time again. I'm not going to try to convince you just as much as no one is going to try to convince me to try to make this work for the less than optimal setup. We're spending money per day. You know, it's either we do it right or not at all. So if we say, hey, I've tried it this way, I tried it out a few, it still didn't work out, I'm going to give up. Cool. Like I'm good with that. Yep.
Hey, Melicia's here, and she gave us money.
Hey,
Melissa Oakleaf Wilson. She was I think a 3X student, right?
I think so, yeah.
Or something. Yeah, and then she got hired as like the director of marketing for some badass company. So she's moving on up in the world. She left us behind. Casey Snow, in previous lives, you talked about a stair-step approach to scaling PMax with tCPA. Can you dive deeper on how to do this?
Yes. So if it's a PMax in a previous episode, so when we're talking about the video that I have is about smart shopping, but in the previous episode, yes, we did talk about it in PMax. Now, what I thought was actually very interesting about Performance Max and stair-stepping is it's still going to stair-step the same way as our smart shopping campaign video does, but it's going to do so a bit more violently. I'll give you a screenshot, and you'll see my last stair-step. And this last stair-step was, let me do this, since March. I'm going to pull this up. I have to hide the client name, so I'm going to try to do as much as possible.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go find the video that we have on stair-stepping, and I'll drop it in the chat so everybody can have. We've got a YouTube video. Regina explains stair-stepping. Keep in mind, she's explaining it from a smart shopping perspective, but the concept is the same.
All right, so I'm going to do this. I believe it's May 1930. Okay. So, okay, perfect. Here's a good screenshot. And I'm going to highlight the fact that this is a Performance Max. So let me do this here.
PMax.
Perfect. I'm going to share screen. And hopefully I don't mess this up. Cool. Can you see it? Can you see this okay?
Dave's going to complain, but yes, I can see it.
Dave, squint, get closer to the screen, put on your glasses. So check this out. What you're going to notice is two things. The red line is conversion value, blue line is cost. This is only my campaign type of Performance Max. And the cost is on the left legend, conversion value is on the right legend. What you're going to notice is cost here and conversion value stayed the same. Now, cost ramped up here, conversion value ramped up here. And now you'll see that the delta, the difference between these two lines here are much different, so that when we're now at this area here, and this is going over the week of May 19th, so it's like artificially lower just because the week's not over. Just imagine this is a straight line here, and this is going to be a straight line here. But you're going to have to look at two things. And what I mean by this is look at the line of cost here and that same line of cost over here. Look at where the conversion value is and look where the conversion value was. Do you see how you had to ramp up violently and then you pull back? And now my conversion value is hundreds of thousands of dollars higher for the same cost as what it used to be. But this metric over here, spending and making the same money and then spending the same money, now there's a big fluff there. It's brought up. So yes, this works. Now here's what I thought. Here's what the difference though between what we did last time and what we did this time is I didn't use any restrictions on bidding strategy. This was all using maximized conversions only. So this is the main difference between that video and this updated. In Performance Max, you don't scale up, turn on a tCPA, turn it off, scale up, turn on tCPA, or even TROAS. You actually scale up by budget and then pull back budget. You don't actually change a bidding strategy. When you change a bidding strategy in Performance Max, things go way haywire for very quickly forever. Like it just is horrible. So on your road of scaling, if you're spending 100 and making 200, and then you spend 200, you're going to make 200, and you spend 300, you're going to make 300, and spend 400, you're going to make 400. So your ROAS is cut in half during the scale. But then when you're making 400, you pull back down to 300, and 400 stays there. So you basically, it's like almost like I spend up, conversion go up, I spend up, conversion goes up, I spend up, conversion goes up. I dip this down, conversion goes down. But it doesn't go down as far.
It actually makes a lot of sense because what you're doing is you're giving Google money, Google's going out and exploring. And then you give Google more money and then it explores more, and more money and explores more. And then you pull back money and Google goes, well, on our exploratory mission, we figured out where to spend the money. So now that you've pulled back, we're going to get more efficient.
100%. So it basically says, hey, Google, go meet 100 people and tell me the 50 you like. But you got to buy those 100 people.
That's so funny. But so here's the thing that scares me about Performance Max. The more we talk about it, the more it feels, and I'd love for you to talk me off this shelf, John, because I realize that I'm just like the paranoid prepper.
Yep.
It feels like if you send Performance Max in the wrong direction, A, B, optimize Performance Max to head in the wrong direction, there's no fixing it or coming back. It's just like, oh, scrap it and start over. Like, it doesn't ever feel like there's a triage and repair to a bad Performance Max campaign.
Yeah, and there isn't. The way that you can do it is you actually have to develop new Performance Max campaigns correctly. Like, it's almost like,
there's no fix. It's just scrap it and start over. But that's scary when it takes 6 freaking weeks just to let the thing learn.
Yeah,
you
so
very few at bats, man.
Imagine it's like getting a website that got hacked, and then you have to go back and revert it back to the last known period where it was working fine, and all the changes that you did since then are now gone. Yeah. It's like that, only you have to do 2 things. I've had success with both. One, I was able to start an additional Performance Max campaign just by cloning it and then letting it run on the same existing conversion action with just the changes reverted back to. That one has worked once. And then I've only tried it once, though, so I have like a one use case. But the other one is I have reverted back with a different conversion action. I actually just swapped my primary from my GTM to transactions in analytics as a conversion source. So I was able to bring it back fairly quickly. I only lost 2 weeks. Now what ended up happening, the other part too, is if you start, the main thing that people have to understand too, and here's a good analogy. Kasim, you ever grow up with a box fan? Like the box fans that are...
Yeah, you're from Albuquerque. Who are you talking to?
Yeah, right. So for us poor folks growing up, we had box fans.
You had to sit there and crank that thing, dude. Like, come on.
Kasim just sitting there by his whole family. You took turns.
I was the box fan.
So the box fan is Performance Max. What now? Did you ever stick your finger in the box fan? Yeah, we all did. So when you stick your finger in a box fan, it hurts. Fan slows down. Speed back up. That's Performance Max. It's the best analogy I got. Performance Max is a fan. If you touch it, it's going to hurt the campaign, hurts you. It slows down, and then it speeds back up. So where we make changes is going to offset this thing. And making too many changes is going to offset this. We had a consulting client that's been following us since October of 2020. He was part of the 3X Shopify group. His name's Daniel, fantastic person. I said, hey, add 40 asset groups. He goes, okay. What he was doing is adding a new asset group like every 3 days. And the campaign just stuttered. He goes, hey, I'm adding these asset groups and things are getting worse and worse and worse. I said, don't touch it. Just stop. Stop doing everything. Just give it a week. And then I even have the email where it's like, this last week's looking amazing because we kept adding in new targets. So when we're talking about a stair-step approach, everyone has to contend with the fact that you might have to add budget, eat just a crap sandwich for like 2 weeks, and then pull back. And it will be better for it. But if you add it, then try to add new asset groups and update ad copy, then add some, stop. Just, you have to let it, remember, you're touching the box fan, it's going to hurt each time. And it's going to slow it down. So let it go. I actually have not touched a very, very, very expensive campaign spending 50 grand a day for the last 18 days. And I've had 2% better cost per acquired new customer daily. It's gone from like 118 down to 104 without touching it. And I meet with the client daily, and he's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. He goes, well, the proof's in the pudding. Great job. Like, it's just, that's what we have to think about. These things are timings.
That same story, different direction. We just lost a client. We met his goal, and a good guy, in case he's watching, we met his goal. And then he emails us saying, hey, there's been nothing in change history for 2 weeks or whatever. And we were like, We know it's working, and so the question, what are you doing, is I'm watching it. And then if you don't want to pay us to watch it, then fine, you watch it.
Okay. That's the thing too, is like, I always say that, where it's like, you pay us for the expertise, but the expertise says don't touch it.
Well, dude, it's like a lifeguard. It's like, how many children have you saved today? None. Okay, well, we don't want the lifeguard here tomorrow. Are you sure? You absolutely sure that's the right decision?
Timmy's been fine for like a week.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, because we're not as funny as you think we are. Ryan,
Sorry.
Would you keep a branded search campaign separate to optimize its spend, or would you integrate a branded asset group into PMax? If you do branded in PMax, would you separate it out by product type? Ryan, you have no choice.
You know what's so funny is we have a video out that's called Why Brand, or like demystifying brand campaigns and brand traffic. Here's the thing that I noticed the most with looking through Northbeam and conversion paths, and I just stare at this all day. So it's like something that's very consistent. The top conversion path shows that the branded traffic that is interacting with PMax will come back through your search campaign. And if your search campaign can't max out the branded traffic coming back, it'll revert back to Performance Max. The search campaign, if you've been running a brand campaign on search, is automatically going to have a better ad rank than your PMax campaign will have on brand, because there's no better campaign in the world than a search keyword that is your brand. No better campaign.
Dude, now, if you're real quick, because there's no better campaign than a search campaign that is your brand.
Right. There's nothing that's going to have a better ad rank. Like, you can launch Performance Max and they can be crushing it, but it's never going to be the 5,000 ROAS that you get for your brand campaign. So what you have to do is, if you're going to, I would keep them separate, absolutely. But just know that unless you max out your brand campaign's ad spend daily so that your search impressions, your loss by budget is 0, it's going to then pop up into your Performance Max. So it's not necessarily an either or, it's a this, then that. So just know that if you run a brand campaign, you're still seeing brand inside Performance Max, is because you didn't pull all the brand out from your branded campaign by daily ad spend. Max that thing out. But you have to be okay with maxing it out. If you're using maximized conversions, your cost per conversion should be $3-4 anyway.
But we don't take clients that don't let us run brand campaigns anymore.
No,
we can't. Can't.
Well, I mean, I don't have to run a brand campaign. You just have to be okay with seeing brand and Performance Max. That's it. You have to be okay with it.
Theodore, can you give us some general types of brand campaigns for SaaS products where your competitors bid on your keyword, how to structure the campaign?
Let me do this one. Where was that? Oh, can you give us some general types? Can you give us some general types for brand campaigns? I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry. Do you know? Am I just being
brand
stupid?
Campaigns? Well, I think he doesn't mean his own brand. He's talking about his competitor brand, or the competitors bidding on your keywords. You know what's interesting? You know who does this really well is Monday.com. If anybody bids on, if anybody searches for an alternative software, Monday goes, "Did you mean Monday.com?" Which is, it's really cute, but it's actually, it's like stopping. You know what I mean? Like, there's a nice little psychological anchor there. If that's what you're asking, Theodore.
The general types for brand campaigns for SaaS products where your competitors bid on your keyword.
I guess it's so here's Monday. If I search for Asana, Monday said Monday is so much better.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But I guess
if you could let me know what you mean by general types, because that's the part that I'm hung up on. Like, if it was like, hey, can you give us some good ad copy? Totally got it. But maybe it's like, what type of campaign? Well, those brand campaigns can be search. Let me know what you mean. I feel really helpless right now, because I don't exactly know if you're asking for like ad copy or when you say general types. Just let us know in the comments if you can.
Another question from Theodore is it a good idea to bid on your competitor keywords with some tailor-made specific headlines without using their brand name?
Yes. So here's what you got to contend with, though. I'd only choose competitors that are exactly one-to-one competitors, which means don't bid on a keyword where that person offers 10 other services besides what you offer, because people that might be Googling them are looking for something that you don't offer. Second thing, be ready to contend with a lot of good, relevant click-through rates, but high bounces and low pages per session, low session duration, which means that essentially they're going to get there to whoops, and then they leave. The other part, depending upon if it's lead generation or e-commerce, is you might get the people that are like, hey, where's my order? You're like, what are you talking about? They're like, it was shipped Tuesday. And you're like, I haven't sold anything in a month. And they're like, where is it? Because they think they're calling someone else. That happens a lot. So where's my couch? So that's just something that does happen a lot. But yes, you can bid on brand names, even with tailor-made headlines. However, your keyword should be something that is specific. So for example, WordStream is a competitor of ours. I'm not going to be bidding on WordStream though. I'm be bidding on WordStream PPC service. Because now I know that a person's looking for WordStream for a reason. Or if you sell couches and you want to go after Wayfair, cool. Wayfair also sell desks. Do you sell desks? No. So do Wayfair couches. Now you're qualifying the reason why they're looking for your competitor. I do that way.
Did you know WordStream sold for $150 million?
Oh,
yeah.
Why?
Take that. Here we go from Ryan. We have a top of the funnel Facebook campaign directing traffic towards a specific landing page. Can we craft a PMax campaign or asset group to funnel traffic to this page as well?
Yes, just make sure that you turn off URL expansion, and that's the only URL that's in the asset group. Don't make like 4 different asset groups going to like the home page and landing page. Just want to make sure that goes to the right area. The other part though is yes, just fluff it up with some additional signals. When you go to a landing pages usually aren't SEO friendly, and SEO friendly landing pages are what PMax use to identify what keywords the DSA portion of PMax, which is sometimes 40 to 60% of the traffic, sometimes 80% of the traffic if it's not e-commerce, is going to try to identify. So if you throw up a landing page, and when you run that landing page through Google's Keyword Planner, and Google Keyword Planner shows search terms that aren't even relevant to what you wanted, like let's say you sell mops and it's like clean floors, it's like that's interpreting wrong. You're going to get PMax traffic about people who want clean floors, and you're like, hey, how about this mop? Yeah, that's top of funnel, but what about mop? That's way better than just clean floor. So what I mean by that is the way that Google interprets that landing page dictates the type of quality traffic you're going to get. So make sure it's an SEO friendly page, you have good content, you index it through Google Search Console, all of the areas that you don't know robot text file that are blocking the index, like make sure that it's set up well, that it's a very good website, because Google's going to read, interpret, and try to find. And if it reads and interprets incorrectly, it's going to bring you a whole bunch of wrong traffic.
Can I ask you a question about final URL expansion?
Yeah.
Google's documentation states, use final URL expansion to replace your final URL with a more relevant landing page based on user's search query and intent.
Mm-hmm.
When I read that, that to me says we're only using final URL expansion for search.
Oh, it's only DSA, correct.
That feels so flawed. Why wouldn't you? Because I feel like it's more applicable for display. John's at the top of the funnel. John needs to go to a top of the funnel content-rich page. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't they use final URL expansion for freaking everything?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that's what Google says. That's what I would count on. I don't know if that's actually what happens. And to our, to the last 2 years, 80% of what Google said should happen was like, well, we found out that this also does.
I know. Yeah.
Right. So the URL expansion.
The guy writing this stuff definitely doesn't know. Like he's being fed bullshit.
Right. Well, that's the thing too. Is I was just like, hey, so exact match is the only one that could take that. And I literally, I'm hearing this more times than not. Well, that's what we were told. I'm like,
yeah.
So here's my question.
If it's only DSA, then it's actually not even search. It's the search category of Performance Max where Google chooses the search term based off of the content on the site. So it wouldn't even be a search term that you upload inside of Performance Max's audiences. It's Google, dude. So, this is where I'm going. I shot a video on this. I want to qualify the logic with you. Final URL expansion is just a new audience. It's basically a new asset group. Because if you turn final URL expansion on, then you're telling Google, go ahead and crawl my site and come up with whole new phrases that you'd like to bid on, and then send people to those pages.
Right. There really isn't a search in Performance Max. The search of Performance Max is DSA.
Well, there kind of is, though, because you're allowed to enter people who search for these terms.
Right. That's the signal.
That's search.
Right. Well, here's what you're saying is if I upload into my signal people who have searched for these terms on Google, it's going to say, okay, great. I'll go see if I can target them on YouTube and display. If they come back to the search channel, I will bid on those people very appropriately. But I'm also, even with URL expansion off, they're still going to use DSA to capture all of the other search terms they think is relevant.
Even with URL expansion off, they're still going to use DSA to capture all the search terms they think is relevant. Okay,
right,
so they're going to crawl your site.
Here's what's going to happen. So in the search portion of Google, it says, "Can I go after these keywords?" Yes, we'll give it to you if we see good performance. Thank you. Now, please scan my homepage. Would you like us to scan anywhere else? No, just my homepage. URL expansion's off. Cool. Here's all the keywords I found. With URL expansion on, it's a DSA campaign with all web pages enabled. That's why you can actually have a URL expansion on, but exclude URLs. So it's just like how a DSA campaign works. All web pages, except for my blog and my contact us page. Cool. Scan, get all the search terms.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think URL expansion not applying across other campaign types within Performance Max is.
Oh, I think it does.
I do. That's what I wanted you to say. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
How could it not? So why the hell is Google telling us that it's based off of search queries?
Well, that's the thing too. The URL expansion. Can you pull that up again?
Yeah.
I think
that's the other piece too. Is I could just be reading this wrong. They could be saying it wrong.
I think that's what it's actually. Here's what I'm thinking.
Dave, I'm zooming in for you.
There we go. All right. So file URL expansion helps you optimize performance of Performance Max campaigns. You replace your file URL with based on the user's search query and intent. So I think that what this means is that with URL expansion off on the search query, we won't go to any other pages. With URL expansion on the search query, we will go elsewhere. But it doesn't say, but on display, we won't or will have URL expansion.
So that could be the intent piece, but at that point, this would read and or intent because display is intent based.
For example, if you have a listing group with 5 products and you turn off URL expansion and you send it to the home page, you have 6 pages now. The 5 product pages plus your home page and your asset group. So that's why when on the shopping, URL expansion doesn't exist because the shopping is going to send it to a page that your feed has dictated. So
I feel like it should exist because if I'm bidding on blue light blocking glasses, okay, let's say I want to sell blue light blocking glasses, but Google identifies Jeffrey would buy blue light blocking glasses if Jeffrey knew about them. So Jeffrey's got headaches, he works in IT, and he has really bad vision. And Google's like, oh, I could go after Jeffrey, but I have to teach him about blue light blocking glasses. I feel like URL expansion, given a content-rich authority site, could start dropping the right type of content in front of Jeffrey to start from the top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel. It feels like such a missed opportunity.
We typically always use URL expansion. We will exclude pages that we don't want that to work. And I do believe that that's only it's like, hey, you can turn off URL expansion on the search portion of Performance Max. It's on default anywhere else, just like how it is on shopping. So yes, on the search portion, that's where the URL expansion would turn on and off. I believe that's, regardless of what Google says, that's how I've seen it work, just even through click tracking and NordView.
Yeah, well, there's no way for us to know inside of Google Ads because it's not showing us destination URLs. We'd have to look at like analytics and Northbeam, like you're saying.
Right.
And I'm so sorry to stop the conversation. Here's the thing. I think this is so important.
Right.
I think figuring out what page people see is so critically important. So we'll keep going.
Here's a good test. We've actually had, and this is for everyone's benefit, we ran a PMax with a feed on one product. And then we ran a PMax campaign without a feed on the same product, but to a landing page. And the landing page actually converted better than the PMax with a feed on the product. So to all my ClickFunnels gurus out there that still want to do the long form sales page, yeah, it can work.
No, I hate you.
Now the product was in demand and really kick ass. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. So don't use this as, wait, John said I could do this. But just know that, yeah, we actually did URL expansion off to a landing page, just no shopping, and it nailed it.
Arms of Andes, last week's Q&A, you mentioned the effectiveness of the new audiences. I was wondering where and how do you analyze this? Insights seem to give us a little info on the audience signals.
I don't remember what I said.
Dude, this is getting so dangerous. People are like taking your word as gospel now and holding you accountable to it. We got to stop bullshitting.
You know what's funny is we talk about so many things. When I'm talking about the effectiveness of the new audience, I need the context and what I said so I can refer back to it. So Here's what I can tell you for sure, though, and the effectiveness of new audiences. It is strong enough to throw off the campaign in a good or bad performance if you add new. Now, the reason why I would say, actually, let me do this. Let me just pull up see if I can pull up a PMax campaign and get to a page where it's not damaging or anything. Let me do this here.
You know what Ralph does here in Levin, by the way? His agreements say that he can use his client campaign in case studies.
That's great. We need that.
Brilliant. We should be doing that.
Yeah.
For anybody watching, I dropped a link to our ultimate guide for Performance Max if you haven't seen it. And I did that because Joseph just said I'm on part 2 right now of the ultimate guide to PMax on YouTube and loving it, which I'm glad to hear. Thank you, Joseph.
Good. Let me do this. Try to think about who I could share that it's not going to hurt anything. Okay. I'm just going to get to it. I'm almost done, everyone. It was just nice and slow.
Right. While you do that, oh, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, so this is where I can't use the one that I wanted to use. So I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this one, and then I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to close that account out and share screen. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. There's nothing here. So this is with a company, and I used a very small example, but this is with the company. Like, let's say you set up your asset group by audience, not by SKU, not by category, but by audience. And you have a search term that came in, let's just say on DSA. Google is going to tell you what asset group most generally matches with clicks and conversions and impressions and conversion rates, ROAS values, etc., on what the asset group was. So for example, if someone types in allergy soft chew, which is a dog allergy, and this isn't a big client, it's a different client, but it's related. And it says allergy soft chew, and I have a Performance Max campaign set up for, let's say, avatar development. And it says, okay, this audience is actually matches the other audience. That's why they all are equal here. But this audience actually deserved the clicks and most impressions and most ad spend because this audience most identifies with this type of either search term or product. So when you're looking at, when you add in audiences, yes, audiences are going to shift how the account is going to give traffic to that audience as it deems relevant, but know that they're all overlapping. So Kasim, let's say, is a fitness guru that is diet focused and works out a lot. Perfect. You got 3 audiences right there. But you can't say, I only want the diet, not the fitness. Too bad. People that fitness are dieting. That's where the overlap. But when you look at like the Venn diagram, I think that's what we're talking about that we discussed last week. 90% of those fitness and a diet will overlap, but the 10% of the people that are really heavily diet but don't do any sort of exercise, that's your expansion opportunity. Then the expansion opportunity, when you see how the traffic's flowing in from your search terms, for example, who is resonating most often with this search term. But you have to set up the asset groups by the audiences in order to be able to measure against that. But if you said, hey, what about people search for like floor length dress and it goes to my floor length dress asset group? You're never going to see it. But just know that every single additional audience member that you add in as relevant as possible, you're expanding that opportunity by 10% each time.
You know, so that floor length dress example you just gave, I was doing a session with Molly Pittman for her mastermind. And I asked Molly, I was like, give me a random example of a product. And she came up with wedding dress. And I was like, all right, make it more specific. And she said, you know, whatever. I forgot what it was, a lace wedding dress. And I was like, make it more specific. And she's like, a long sleeve lace wedding. We searched for it, bro. There was a market for like it's unbelievable how granular it goes. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Yeah. It gets, and that's why that's why PMax works well, but I also fill PMax with long tail broad. I don't fill PMax DSK audiences with like cell phone case. It's like blue, no slip drop resistant cell phone case. Here's what I think a lot of people misinterpret. Performance Max isn't this big magical black box of awesomeness. It's all of your existing campaign types put into one. So here's an example. Well, here I'll give you right. So, do you need to ignore feed optimization rules? No, shopping center. would you just go after 2 keywords in a broad sense? Or would you build, if you were to build a search campaign, what would your search campaign look like?
Hammock.
Yeah, right. So that's what's funny is like people are like, well, I would probably want to have a relevant ad. I probably want to have a relevant keyword, and I probably want it to go to a relevant page. Right. So what you said is you have to rebuild everything in Performance Max with 80 different asset groups. Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Like, so that's the thing too, is like you wouldn't go after stupid broad keywords. You put some thought into it and build a well built out plan. Do that in Performance Max. It's the same thing. So it's all of your campaign types you have a good amount of familiarity with put together. Treat them as such.
Dave Fogel, John, what do you think is the minimum number of products needed to be successful for a successful ecom campaign? 1.
We have a lot of clients with just one product. It actually works sometimes better.
I love easy answers.
Learn on that product fast.
Abir Sayed, a seemingly competent Google rep, first of all. We don't like fiction here, Abir. Yeah. A seemingly competent Google rep was making coherent arguments about why you should use data-driven attribution in smart bidding. How do you feel about data-driven?
Yeah, so data-driven, it makes a lot of sense when you are talking about being okay with an impression counting as a click conversion. What I mean by that is there is a lot of times where I have an example of this, and it's an amazing example.
We only have 200 clients, John. Think of it.
I know, and it wasn't. They're not even a client. It was an evaluation. Okay. Oh yes, I remember it. Ha ha! My neighbors were probably like, "Why is he screaming?"
It's so funny.
I'm gonna pull this up, and here, this is the point where you'll have to say yes, I agree, or no, that's stupid. And both are right and wrong. This is worth getting to it because this is what I try to portray to people. But sometimes when I say a view through conversion will be counted as a click through conversion, it's like, I don't know what you said.
Isn't that only on video an engaged view, or is it any view?
It's not.
Who knows?
It's when Google deems that was useful enough to count as a conversion. That's where this thing gets a little bit, messed up. Read only eval. I'm getting there, folks. I'm so sorry. It's literally loading right now. And oh, wait, where'd it go? All right, ending in 6432, 6432. Okay, I guess I don't have it anymore. So anyway, they're coming on as a client, so I should have them here soon. I don't know where they are though. We lost them in our eval, and they're not yet in our GATS 4 or GATS 3. So anyway, there's a client that has a ton of YouTube ads, ton of YouTube subscribers. And they did a remarketing campaign on YouTube and got very little conversions, but the brand campaign shot up like crazy. So what happened was on click basis, like first click or last click, it says 12 people clicked on this YouTube ad and 12 people converted, and brand still had, the normal conversions that would. On a data-driven model, those 12 clicks that converted, whether it's like 10 on first click, 12 on last click, 12.6 on linear, you switch to data-driven, that remarketing YouTube video went to like 39. It shot up 3 times higher in attributed conversions using data-driven than click. Why? They didn't click on it. But these are active users of the YouTube channel that started to see their ads. They Googled the brand name and converted. Those YouTube videos did not have clicks, but those YouTube videos were spawning branded searches that converted. And I have that. I wish I still had the. I don't know why I don't have the. I don't know why I don't have the access to it anymore.
Can we guard against that by just changing engaged views conversion window to 1?
You can. I mean, unless the people are, but I wouldn't necessarily say would you guard against it. I'd still want to see if it is working. Like I'd still want data-driven to be like, yeah, hey, your YouTube video, but you have to understand these people are not clicking there. So when you shift from first click, last click, linear, all of those are click-only models. Data-driven is the only attribution model that is not click, but click and or view. That's where you have to be okay with this. In certain aspects, it makes sense. In certain aspects, it does not. If you were to say, well, my display campaign that's running to an audience that for the last 6 months have never gotten clicked, data-driven is going to give 10 conversions to it. Cool. Does this really mean that you're going to continue on with that? Doesn't that now put it over the threshold? Are you okay with having view through attribution rather than click through attribution? What other channels are you running that also could have been targeting the same people at the same time? Do they engage with those channels? Do they not engage with Google? That's part two. You have to say, I'm okay with view through conversions now counting as a click in my campaigns.
Data is going to be greedier.
Right.
Dude, what an amazing point that is. Data-driven attribution is the only attribution model that's going to count views at all. But because PMax is so display heavy, I mean, don't we just kind of need that?
Oh yeah, I mean that's okay. And that's what I'm saying. I'm no longer in the stance. I think I've sort of elevated out from my hard and fast yay or nay rules. Yeah. Because I've been right and wrong where I'm like, well, crap, now this does make sense.
But aren't we using first click for most of our PMax campaigns?
Not anymore. No, a lot of them are data driven now. For this reason. Now we run Northbeam a lot, so it really doesn't matter. But
well, it kind of does matter though, because Google's optimizing according to the attribution model assigned.
Well, let me give you a quick example of why sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes you don't want it to matter. And I'm going to pull up a campaign here. This one I can share. Let's do this. This one's really fun because you're going to say like, oh, holy crap. This makes a whole reason why your attribution model is not set in stone. It's specific use case based. It's 100% use case. So anybody says, hey, this is a better bidding strategy. Say, okay, cool. What's the goal? Why? And what did you change? So this one's amazing.
So to simplify what you just said, customer acquisition would be first click, and then abandoned carts would be last click.
Right. So here's a client here. Now check this out. Let's look at the last 14 days. Okay. I'm running on first click attribution here. PMax campaign spent 20 grand, right? It's got a 142 ROAS. Wow, that looks terrible. We spent 20 grand and made 27. This is the conversion value here. I actually just changed this last 3 days. That's why I actually can't. This number's gonna look a little bit different. But check this out. What happens when I look at the campaign status and my smart shopping campaign brought me another 10 grand and I spent 0? That's weird. Now let's go back for, let's say 30 days. Smart shopping, I spent 0. How to make 50,000? Kind of strange, right? The reason is I transitioned from smart shopping into Performance Max. Performance Max is new customer heavy, but it's also going to go after the fast, easy, cheap, branded wins and kills that it can get. So what I did is I just didn't give any attribution to the Performance Max campaign. I left on first click, knowing that my first click originally came from smart shopping, and every subsequent conversion that happens because there are repeat purchases through Performance Max, I purposely did not attribute that conversion to Performance Max because I didn't want this thing just to become the fat and happy fluff campaign that I knew it wanted to be. So I stole the attribution away from it.
But when smart shopping peters out and that tail is gone, PMax will take it over and then start getting that attribution.
Bingo. But I needed to make it work harder in order for it to happen.
That is genius.
So what is this? Well, that's what people are like, hey, this attribution model works best. It's like, it'd be like, hey, diesel gasoline's awesome. What do you drive? A Ferrari. No, then don't use diesel. Like, do you have a truck? Sure, use diesel. But that's the problem is, yeah, you can't say that something's better or worse without contextualizing the reason why you would want to use it. The attribution model is only for you. Google doesn't really care what the attribution model is. If you're a good enough advertiser, say, should you give credit to that campaign? And if you did, what would happen? I know Performance Max is remarketing. I know Performance Max earned that click because I can see it in Northbeam. It earned the click and the conversion, but I made Google give it to smart shopping because it was simply a remarketing click. It didn't earn the conversion. So how can you make $50,000 come up from 0 ad spend? Attribution model.
Magic. All right, we've got 5 minutes. You ready for rapid fire?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Arms of Andes, free commerce and a hyper-segmented PMax campaign. When we turn off a product listing that performs poorly, how do we avoid PMax shifting the poor audience into another asset group?
Well, it depends on if final URL expansion is turned on. So if you have final URL expansion turned off, exclude that URL from the DSA, and then pause that asset group, and you're not going to send any more traffic to that page. They're at least shopping and search. But if final URL expansion is turned on, you can't.
Michael gave us $5, so I'm bumping his question up to the top. Yeah, Michael says, is there a way to apply bulk custom labels to products based on price range or date product was added to the store, either in Google Merchant Center or through a product feed optimization tech?
Data View Watch can. That's the only way that we've ever done it. And then we actually filter by those custom labels inside of PMax campaigns for our listing groups or any standard shopping campaign for that matter. And that's how we actually filtered out those products. We actually had a custom label called like Solutions 8, where it's like, here, you get these products from market. I'm like, thank you. But yeah, Data View Watch has that ability.
And they're buddies of ours. We really like them. They've done a lot of good stuff for us. Michael, thank you. You can buy our love. Tommy, we ran a PMax campaign for a while, and one night it spent 80% of its budget in an hour on bot traffic. It did the same the next day, so we shut it off. Should we let it spend on bots or go back to SSC?
Well, the problem is their smart shopping campaigns just doesn't automatically go there anyway. So that's the problem. Smart shopping is going to just turn into Performance Max, and then here comes the bot traffic. My opinion on this is if you give it 2 days and it's spending a bunch of money on bot traffic, turn down the ad spend significantly. Keep your bidding strategy the same, but let it kind of go through the first few days. Because what it's going to say is, okay, we got a whole bunch of traffic. What happened? Nothing happened. Okay, get rid of that traffic. That's going to happen regardless. It's a fallacy. Google has even admitted we're working on it, but not when we force you to use it. After we force you to use it, then we'll figure out how to make this work. But in the meantime, we have to contend with it. There's a side comment that if you let your smart shopping campaign turn into Performance Max, you will actually have the ability to opt out of like video and that kind of stuff, which actually is going to be pretty much where your source of spam is coming from. But you're also not going to be able to take advantage of new customer acquisition in Performance Max. So I still say go through it, get the bot traffic, spend $10 a day on it. After a week of it not being able to see any conversions, then it should pivot out, but leave smart shopping on at that same time.
Dan Rosette, if I change the price on my product from $234.99 to $239.99 or $244.99, will it mess up my PMax? And is it possible that the sale will go down and never back up?
Yes. So here's what happens. I've done this a few times, and this is what you have to contend with. Everybody that's warmed up and ready to go, if you have a 12-day time lag, if you up the price, you're only going to scoop up whatever those people were that were okay with the price increase before they were going to buy. But the other people that were getting close to buying and thinking about it and being remarketed for the next 6 days, you're like, it's not worth it. You're going to lose those people. But however, after the 12-day time lag is up, you get new people that cycled in. Those new people have already agreed that, yeah, that's the price I'm willing to buy and I'm thinking about buying
it. Jason James, in the products list, it shows more conversions than the campaign view does. Any idea why?
Yes, in the product list, you're going to be seeing all of your conversion actions. So in the product list, you're look at, and it just was fixed last week. So normally when you're looking at like your listing groups, you'll see like all conversion value, all conversions, and all conversion rate. You're like, I'm not getting 20, 30% conversion rates and hundreds of conversions. If your account's been updated, you can actually go into columns and add the normal conversion columns back in. But if not, you know that you're probably adding up the add to carts, begin checkouts, the purchases. All of those are being added up because those are the all conversions. So just know that see if you can change it in the column and listing group. And if not, you're going to have to just either shut off those other ancillary conversion actions or just give them no value. So it doesn't influence that report.
No nasties. I just see for the first time CPC is normally 70 cents and now it's €8. Why? How?
I'm not sure what this means. If it's
CPC's went crazy.
Well, if it's at Performance Max and if it's testing different audiences, what it was is, okay, here's my display traffic. Display traffic, super cheap. What happens when I go to search? Search is not going to get traffic at the same price as display. It's not going to be the same price as YouTube. It's not going to be the same price as shopping. So when Performance Max, the reason why it takes 6 weeks in order to be fully vetted is because it says for each week, it's like test search, then shopping, then YouTube, then GSP, then discover, then display. Unless the signal's strong, then it's going to go there first. But it's going to test all those different audiences or different channels. Those different channels cost different per click.
Michael asked for a data feed watch, a feed optimization tech. We recommend a data feed watch, so I'm skipping that one. Dave says dimensions and weight. The shipping is triple what it says in GMC. How do I fix this? I'm lost.
Dimensions and weight. What's saying triple? Oh, it depends on the way the shipping is triple what it says in GMC. So are you saying that your website is triple than what it says in your merchant center?
We'll come back to that when Dave responds. John Rollo, how bad is it to lower and raise budgets by large amounts for campaigns every month? Monthly budgets fluctuate seasonally.
It's not good. Here's the thing. Pulling back, easy. Building it back up, hard. So that's where you have to understand. It's funny, if you pull back.
You can jump off any building you want, but now you have to.
Right. The dive board's fun to jump down, but you got to climb the ladder back up to do it again. Yeah. So that's the thing is, just know that what you're asking me to do is you're asking me for an audience. If you say, hey, I have 100 fairly known people, you reduce budget, 60 is who is going to go after the known. But then if you're adding in another 40, it's going to say these are my unknowns. And it needs time to think about it. Just know that when you add budget, you have to at least go through your time lag before you can start to measure it. Oh, excuse me 1 second while we're doing that last question there.
Theodore, John, what is your black colored drink?
Sorry, someone's at my door.
Theodore wants to know what you're drinking.
John, what is your black colored drink? I drink oil because I'm a machine. No, it's just actually the color of the bottle. I don't know why it does that. It's just water. It's just, it was the only thing that had same day shipping from Amazon because I broke my water bottle.
I think we answered this one for Michael, right? Yeah.
Is there a way to apply bulk custom labels? Yes.
To Arms of Andes, free commerce Shopify fashion brands that customers buy within 1 to 2 weeks of the first visit of our site. What would the best attribution model? AOC for brand is 30 and the other's 80.
Free commerce Shopify fashion brands. Again, the attribution model is depending upon your structured setup. If you're running a brand campaign, first click. If you're running a Performance Max campaign with a brand, attribution. If you're running, data driven. If you're running a Performance Max campaign without brand, doesn't matter. So it depends. So I would say best attribution model, if you wanted to, just use data driven. It's a safe bet.
Does using the recapture checkbox saying I'm not a robot help filter bot traffic?
No.
It's not bot traffic, y'all. It's click farms.
It's click farms. So that's the thing. These are people that are going to click, that are going to fill out forms. If you're like, hey, here's a fast, easy form, and like, I can autofill that, but it's like, here's 15 fields and autofill does name and nothing else. So like, next, they're going to avoid it.
On a competitor campaign, how much do you worry about very low quality scores?
A lot, actually. It's one of the reasons why I really don't run competitor campaigns, because they're extremely expensive. Half the traffic thinks that they got to the wrong area. The other half of the traffic thinks that they're trying to contact the right person. And then the 5% that you do pick up needs to be worthwhile to go through all that crap of high CPCs and weird traffic.
I still have sugar daddies as a search term in PMax for my storm shutters company. Very bizarre. Dave, I think they're targeting you. They just know. That's audience segmentation.
They took a look at a handsome guy in sunglasses on the beach and said, sugar daddy. That's weird. Check your site. I would do this. Go to Google, type into Google site semicolon, and then your website space sugar. Actually, let me do this. Here, I know I have like a couple more minutes left. My next call is in 6 minutes. Do we have time, Dave? Can you just drop your URL into the chat if you're cool with it? If not, then we'll go through it.
While we're waiting, Arms of Andes, if we have 3 PMax campaigns running, each with a budget of $50 and 2 of them are still in learning phase, and we want to combine all good assets and audience signals in one campaign, how can we do this?
Take the campaign that has the most amount of spend and clicks and impressions and or sales as a priority, or leads, and then use that one as your dumping ground that everything else goes into.
Brett Nelson, do you get an asset group blends often? Working with Affinity, in-market customer lists in the same asset groups? Or asset groups
100% of the time. Okay. Yeah, no, asset groups are not always a one-to-one signal. They are heavily blended. What your job is find all of the little pockets, nooks, and crannies and under rocks that Google may not have think of, and then bring those to light. That's what your job is to do, is just adding in a whole bunch of highly relevant signals, as many as possible. But they're going to be overlapping.
Signals should be consistent and maintaining continuity, right?
That's just saying high quality relevant signals, yes. Yeah. But if it was like best hiking shoe, best shoe for hiking, there's 2 different signals.
Got it. Hassan, the ultimate guide to PMax is the best one on YouTube, period. Bam! High five.
Yay!
I think we did it.
Hey.
I think we did it. Dave, we can't get your links. All the URLs that you're trying to drop don't show up in our chat.
Oh!
What happened?
Jason, I've been working with Jason. He's Gym Gear Direct. He's our client. And I said, hey, here's what I think. We had an awesome smart shopping campaign that was delivering 10x ROAS. Performance Max came in and screwed everything up. We've been trying to rebuild it, and we just said that we said we're going to run it wide open and go through the hurt. Going through the hurt, and I said, we're going too much after heavy new traffic. The previous campaign with smart shopping was doing a lot of dynamic remarketing. Let's add that feature back in. So running a PMax campaign with a high level dynamic remarketing goes in 6 days since dynamic remarketing was added to our all products PMax, ROAS has doubled, John. Yes. Should we spend more on DR now? No, just hang tight.
No.
Let's
hold your horses, Jason.
Your ROAS doubling, your ROAS doubling is probably 1 to 2 sales, Jason, I would imagine. But yes, it's yes, the hurt. Yeah, we had to go through the hurt, but it's coming out the other side. Awesome, Jason. That's so cool to see. You still didn't answer my shipping question. Just saying. Well, what was the shipping question again?
Who is it? Oh, that's Dave.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Three sales, actually.
Three sales. Oh, good.
Y'all, we appreciate everybody who's a member at Solutions 8. We're trying to roll out a membership thingy, just so you know. So we'll actually have like a real membership community.
Ooh, actually, 4 sales.
Nice.
Sorry. This is getting better and better. If I hang tight, we'll get 5. Hold on. No. Sorry, go ahead.
That was it. We'll have a real membership community. John and I will not be involved at all. It'll be for our members to talk to each other. So it'll be a community for you people. And then we'll use the conversations in the membership community to push to the live Q&A, which I think is going to be the most productive way to do it. So it'll be self-moderated in a lot of ways. Yeah. John, I know you got a jet.
It's been awesome. Yeah, actually, Dave, if you can retype it, just retype it. I want to get this one last thing. I'm a perfectionist. It'd be awesome to communicate with all the account people, will we? Yeah, it's awesome.
I think we should just oust Dave. He's our problem child.
Yeah, can you ban from YouTube?
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, people? We're the most opposite. She's like, I'm the short, fat white guy, and he's the tall, dark, and handsome. Like, we got diversity on this call already.
Stop it. GMC account
suspended. Shipping rates are the problem. Yeah, so your shipping rates in GMC have to be higher than your website does, period. The fact that your website is higher than GMC means that it's either a problem with is GMC too low or is your website too high. So the shipping rates are a problem. Inside GMC says $34 for fixed ground. What does your website say for that same exact zip code? So inside of GMC, you can actually, when GMC sends you a warning or a disapproval, they'll tell you, we tried Buffalo, New York, 10004. Going to FedEx website for same thing shows 95. Yeah, so that's the problem. This is a big problem to diagnose because a few things. Is your website showing 88? The FedEx website shows 95. Inside GMC 34. So it's a problem with GMC and FedEx. I would actually do a custom shipping rate, and I would do it manually, or use something called Ship Hero, and Ship Hero will update these things automatically. So GMC 34, FedEx size 95, website 88. So your feed is showing too low. So that's the thing, is that inside the feed, whatever is sending your feed into GMC, if it's content API, if you're using a third party, that's being either too low or your website's too high. I don't know what's the correct amount.
Don't you think measurement marketing could help them with this? They do GMC stuff, don't they?
Yeah, it's not really, because what happens is, like, inside GMC, you say, like, if then, like, between this and this, your fixed rate is X. Like, that's the way to fix this automatically. But if it's the website is producing a content that's different from what it's producing in the feed, then that's the issue. It's the website, it's CMS essentially, that's showing different shipping rates. I never see this unless it's using Data Feed Watch. Yeah, and I never see this unless they're using a third-party tool like Data Feed Watch, which means it's I would contact Data Feed Watch, honestly, because we need to have the feed send the right shipping weight, dimension, and price into GMC, because it's not merging. It's furniture shipping goes all over the place. Yeah, I would, honestly, Dave, I would do a standard rate. I'd make the price the highest it can possibly be, get that problem resolved, then go back and fix this. But as long as your GMC is higher than the actual or higher that's on your website, you have no problem. Your website can say 80, your GMC fee can say 95, done. Everything's perfect. You're reapproved everywhere across the board. Then I'd go back and diagnose. This is a long-term fix. Cool. I got to go now. All right. I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care.